Cold with discountjuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and this has been a requested video, and I can't really understand why, because today we'll be comparing two juicers, and it's totally, while they are both juicers, it's like comparing apples to oranges. They're both fruits, but they're different kinds of fruits, right? And that's what I'll be comparing with you guys today. The NAMA J2 juicer and the Pure cold press two-stage hydraulic juicer. I also consider the NAMA J2 a cold press juicer because number one, it does not introduce necessarily any heat into the juice, so it is a cold juicer. Plus the other fact is that it actually crushes and squeezes and literally presses out the juice out of the produce. That being said, it works a little bit differently than the hydraulic press that actually exerts a lot more pressure on the juice. The next thing I want to say is if you guys want to get either of these two machines, I'm going to hook you guys up with the most and best discount because I am discountjuicers.com. Check the links down below if you guys want to save 10% off on the NAMA J2 by using the coupon code COLDPRESS10. And check the link down below to get the Pure juicer at the lowest price plus a $25 off exclusive discount juicers coupon code that you guys could use. And when you guys get the Pure juicer, I do encourage and recommend you get the chef's package because just buying the chef's package alone is going to save you guys $100 off the top than buying all the accessories and press cloths separately. So aside from that, let's go ahead and get on with the video. So as I said before, these are both juicers, but it's like comparing apples to oranges because this works totally different. I mean, this is literally an invention out of the 1900s. Like literally, that's when the hydraulic style press juicer two-stage was invented that looked pretty much like this one. You know, it was a bit more antiquated, and this is the latest and updated model. The machine was called the Norwalk juicer. Norwalk is no longer in business. So if you want to get a two-stage hydraulic press juicer, your only choice is to get a brand new Pure. You could find an old or used Norwalk, but please understand you may not be able to get parts or get any service from it because Norwalk is out of business, although there are third-party people that have been selling parts and, doing service on the Norwalks if you can find them. That being said, you can check my link down below for the comparison video of the Pure to the Norwalk to find out why you should probably just buy the Pure from the get-go. It's a much better engineered and designed machine that is built to last a lifetime, literally. And actually, this machine has a full 12-year warranty on the entire machine that actually is transferable, which is quite uncommon in the juicing industry. Most juicers have a non-transferable warranty. The Pure juicer is the only juicer I can think of that actually has a transferable warranty. So that's really cool. Now the other thing to remember about the Pure juicer is that it is one of the most expensive juicers on the market. It is also all stainless steel, aside from the press cloths that you will need to put your produce in to press out the juice, which is really nice. And it costs about 5 times more money when you use the coupon code than the NAMA J2. So literally you could get 5 of these and give them to all your friends, or you guys could get one Pure juicer. And I could bet my life that this machine will not make 5 times more juice than the NAMA. And actually, just speaking about yields really quick, we'll do a yield test a little bit later in this episode, but in general, you would be hard-pressed to beat the yield with the Pure. Like, the Pure is always going to pretty much rule the world with juice yield compared to any other juicer. That being said, there are rare exceptions where actually the NAMA may beat the Pure, but for the overall, in general, like 98% of the time, the Pure juicer will get more yield than the NAMA, and I hope you guys expect that when you guys are paying 5 times more money. Now, the other thing that's very important for me is the ease of use and convenience. Now, there are people like the owner of Pure, David, he's a wonderful dude. He knows how to use the Pure juicer quickly and efficiently. And this has a more, I would say, steeper learning curve. So, I'm kind of a newbie, I'll admit it. I'm a newbie at using the Pure juicer because I've never really juiced on it a lot. I've juiced in it for a few videos and then off camera a bunch of times. But I'm by no means an expert in juicing with the Pure. So you need to use it, get familiar with it, learn the process, and then actually you could probably get fairly quick, when using the Pure and getting quite efficient at it, right? That being said, the cool thing is there is zero learning curve with the NAMA, well, almost zero. Literally, you put the produce in, you just gotta, order it in the proper ordering, maybe pre-cut some items, put it in the machine, shut the lid, turn it on, and literally walk away. That's the pure joy about the NAMA J2, and that's why it is the best-selling juicer of all the high-end juicers in the United States at this time the video is being filmed. It is just so simple, so easy to use, and that's why a lot of people gravitate towards it. And now, on the other hand, the Pure Juicer is a process, on most produce items, you will need to basically put it through this side of the machine, which is a grinder. It operates at 3,450 revolutions per minute. So basically, it grinds up the produce super quick. Let me go ahead and show that to you guys really quick. Basically, this cutting blade spins around at 3,500 approximately RPMs, and basically just super shreds up your produce. It goes through a little grid here, so there may be some multiple hits in the produce before it comes out. Because it is running at a higher speed, in my personal opinion, it tends to oxidize the produce that you're running through it. Especially if it's something like ginger, where it's really has a lot of fibers, could get stuck in there, and actually even this could heat up on you actually more than the NAMA J2 that runs at 50 revolutions per minute. So that's literally 69 times slower than the Pure Juicer grinder. Now, once you grind everything on the initial grind, some juice will be released. So you may get a little puddle of juice in the bottom of your collection bin here, but what you're also going to see is a lot of pulp. So now you have basically pulped the produce. You then take the pulp and you basically put a cupful or so in a press cloth such as this, and then you fold up the press cloth with the pulp patty on the inside. You put it inside the press and you turn the machine on. This raises up and literally presses and squeezes out all the juice with thousands of pounds of pressure. So I will say that, you are literally doing more destruction and damage to the produce. So you are blowing open more cell walls with the grinder than the NAMA will ever do. This is a good and a bad thing, because it's a good thing because you're opening up all the cell walls. So now you have a more probability of getting and extracting more nutrients out of it. But at the same time, it's because it is grinding so hardcore, it does oxidize, so you lower some of the nutrients, right? You then take that pulp patty, which, is a two-step process, so it's not continuous. It's kind of like more of a batch juicer. And then you need to press it out. And when you press out the produce, basically all the juice has to come through this press cloth that I clearly cannot see through. You can't see through it either. So this literally lets out only the liquid, the pure juice out of the pulped produce. This will hold back more of the different fibers in there and different nutrients, in my personal opinion. And so you'll get more of a clean tasting juice that is nice and literally pure. It's a preference as to what tastes better. Like if you ask the owner of Pure drinking a NAMA versus a Pure juice, he'll say, man, the Pure juice tastes better. Yeah, it's me. It depends on the recipe. In some cases, the NAMA tastes better. In some cases, the Pure tastes better. But once again, that is a subjective test. If you ask somebody's opinion, you would have to do a taste test yourself to taste to see which one you perform more. That being said, my personal opinion is that when I taste a juice from the Pure and I juice the same thing out of the NAMA, it tastes a little more, I would say, rich out of the NAMA, although the owner of Pure would say it tastes more rich out of the Pure. But, to me, when I make a juice in the Pure, it just tastes a bit more watery, and that's because I believe some of the nutrients are being held back because of the press cloth that you can't actually see through. And we'll be comparing this press cloth to the juicing screen that actually will let more particulates into your juice, which I consider, in this case, to be a good thing. That being said, I know a lot of you guys are juicing for the enzyme content. And if you're juicing for enzyme content, there's a published study that shows the Pure Juicer makes some of the highest enzymatically active juice in the world. So if you're just juicing for the enzymes, you want to get the Pure and actually ditch the NAMA J2. Now, on the flip side, people think enzymes are good because they make things happen in our bodies. They could help, you know, clean our blood and all these different things that I'm not going to discuss. But in my opinion, the enzymes also can do massive damage to the produce, right? So once you juice and there's high enzymatic activity, right, those enzymes are breaking down the nutrients in the juice, and they may lower some of the polyphenol and other nutrients over time. That's why when you cut open an apple, it turns brown, right? And the brown is the polyphenol oxidase, basically oxidizing some of the polyphenols because of the reactions to the air. So when you're blowing open all the cell walls really efficiently and exposing everything to the air and now pressing it out with thousands of pounds of pressure, you're gonna get more enzymatic activity. So in my opinion, if you are using a pure juicer, you should drink the juice right after you make it, and you know, it'd be my preference not to store it. Although if you do store it, check my link down below for how to store your juice up to 7 days and minimize the enzyme reactions by pulling a strong vacuum on the juice, as well as keeping the juice cold, as well as a lot of other tips that are in the video down below. So you gotta make sure you're gonna do that if you do wanna store your juices. I do make juices with the pure, and I do store them for up to 7 days myself. Now keep in mind, in some cases, creating more enzymatic activity could be a good thing, because when there's more enzymatic activity with something like cruciferous vegetables like kale, collard greens, even cabbage for instance, it could make it a lot more hot and spicy and create more isothiocyanates, which are basically anti-cancer properties according to the published science. So like I juiced cabbage in here and made a juice. It was like, all right, this is a little bit strong, but then I took the pulp and I pressed it out of the pure without even using the grinder, and I got, you know, like maybe 20% more juice. That's showing, you know, how much more you'll get with the pure, like 20% more. But then I drank that juice and it was super hot and spicy. It was like, wow, how come it changed so much? That's because this machine, not only from blowing open the cell walls from the grinder, it's also, in my opinion, blowing open cell walls under the extreme pressure and literally bursting cells open, and you're getting nutrients out of the cells. So on that level, you know, the juice may be more nutritious. So, I mean, it's once again, you're comparing apples to oranges. Each one of these machines in their own right is super amazing. But the question is, which one will you buy? Which one will you use more importantly? You know, if you're on a Gerson Therapy program, the Gerson Therapy only recommends using a 2-stage hydraulic press, such as the Pure Juicer. They would not recommend a NAMA, you know, cold press or single auger juicer. You know, so it's up to you. But here's the thing, you guys, some of you guys can't afford the Pure Juicer. You know, in my opinion, it's better to juice with a NAMA than to not drink any juice at all, or even worse, to use a high-speed juicer or to use a traditional blender that is not a vacuum blender to basically make your juice, because that oxidizes the produce even more than the NAMA or the Pure Juicer. So, you know, I always try to teach you guys good, better, best, right? Once again, the game-changing feature of the NAMA J2 is that it is so easy and it gets people to be more compliant with juicing. I've sold plenty of NAMA J2 juicers to people that have formerly owned a Norwalk juicer and didn't like how when they put produce in there, it maybe sometimes hit the ceiling on them, and they just didn't like the process because they got to grind, put it in the bag, scoop it out, lift this up, taper it when it comes to the top, or it's going to squirt everywhere, and they just want to put the stuff in, shut the lid, turn it on, literally walk away, and this machine will make all the juice for you. So yeah, pros and cons. Once again, if yields are the most important thing, then yeah, almost all cases, the Pure is going to win. If enzyme content is the most important thing, then the Pure is going to win. But if nutrients are the most important, I believe in many cases, the NAMA would be superior. And that's my personal opinion, you know, just from tasting the juices and seeing the colors of the juice. But also, you know this, it depends on what produce item you are specifically juicing. So, you know, a certain produce item may get more nutrition out of the Pure, or it may get more nutrition out of the NAMA J2. It just depends, and it's all variable. I will say for me personally, you know, the J2 is my favorite juicer. Link down below for the 10 reasons why it is my favorite juicer, just because it's easy to use. Like, honestly, I've never really gotten the hang of using the Pure. I could grind stuff up, and I use this for banana sorbet, which is amazing, and then you could press it out, and you gotta clean the press cloths, and I'd actually rather clean a juicer than the press cloths of the Pure, but that's just me personally. So yeah, pros and cons of each of these machines. Once again, 5 times more money. So, you know, if yield's the most important, you want to get every last drop, then hey, buy the Pure. That being said, I have techniques that you could use in the NEMA to basically rejuice your pulp. Link down below to that video, how to get more juice out of your pulp using a NEMA or other vertical juicer. So you could, you know, and that's what I often do when I do use the NEMA, and plenty of times I've used the NEMA and then pressed out the pulp it makes in the Pure, and I'll get anywhere from, you know, depending on what I'm juicing, 10 to 30%, up to 30% more juice when pressing out the pulp. So that's how, you know, how much more juice you can expect from this machine, and nowhere is it near 5 times. 10 to 30% more juice depending on specifically what you're juicing. Now there are situations depending on what you're juicing. The auger juicer, in my opinion, would be a much better, you know, juicer to use than the Pure, and vice versa. So for example, if you're going to juice soft and mushy apples, right, don't use the NEMA. It's going to make applesauce. It is not efficient at juicing soft, mushy, old produce. The Pure is the juicer to juice those soft fruits, right? It's gonna do a significantly better job than the NEMA J2. That's gonna make a really much more thick juice. Now, if you want to juice something like wheatgrass, right, I would not recommend juicing it in the Pure juicer, although you could juice it in the NEMA J2 if you pre-cut the wheatgrass with scissors into 1/4-inch pieces and put them in to the machine. I would not put whole pieces of wheatgrass in there. Likewise, if I was juicing something like parsley or cilantro or other herbs, you know, while you could juice that in the Pure juicer, right, if you're making a straight green juice, my preference would be to use the NEMA J2. Actually, link down below for the video I make on how I bulk green juice in the NEMA J2. It's not that the Pure won't do it, but you know, you always want to juice those more hardcore herbs that you're not juicing a ton of with other watery vegetables such as cucumbers and apples even, or celery, and it's going to work a lot better than just trying to put through a whole bunch of parsley alone. Now it will juice it, but you know, to me a much better appliance for that task is the NEMA J2. Now please keep in mind things like parsley and cilantro don't necessarily have a lot of juice in them, and when you use an auger juicer it may tend to foam a little bit more than using the Pure juicer on that item. Now, when you're juicing carrots, you know, easily the Pure is gonna beat the butt off the NEMA J2 with the yield for sure. And so this would be a better juicer for like root vegetables and carrots. So it really kind of just depends. The next thing I want to do is actually we're gonna go ahead and take the machines apart, part by part, and explain the differences in the different parts and how they work so you guys could better understand. I think I'll first go over the Pure juicer, and once again this is a 2-stage juicer. The first stage is you must grind your produce into a pulp. The exception is you're, you know, juicing fruits. So some fruits like oranges, pomegranates, and pineapple literally could just be pressed out on the press. That's what I'll be demonstrating with for you guys today. But otherwise you have to select the proper grid, and they give you a number of different grids you could use, and they have a little guidebook that'll tell you use this size grid for this produce item. So and then you basically put the produce in here. It comes off and disassembles really easily. And once again, this spinning cutting blade, so it literally has teeth and it literally cuts the produce and shreds it up into like super fine particle size. Think like baby food, right? It's going to grind it up and put it into mush, and at the same time it's putting it into mush, it's going to release some of the juice, and that's going to come out here. You're then going to take a scoopful and then put it on a press cloth, and then you're going to put it on this press that basically will rise up and literally squeeze out all the juice. Now the thing to remember is while the grinding does happen quite quickly, the pressing happens a bit slower. You will need to manually adjust this as you go up so that when you get to full tilt, or you're pressing it full tightness on the press, when it's fully closed, you're going to want to taper it off, because if you just let it go at full steam, it's just going to spray juice everywhere. And also please be aware that you must fold your press cloth properly. It's super simple, super easy. You do a tic-tac-toe pattern. If you don't fold your press cloth properly, then you may have a press cloth explosion, which happened to me once, and it literally sprayed pulp across the room. That being said, you also must use their special press cloths that are designed for the force exerted by the press. If you think, oh, I'm just gonna use some, like, cloth or something, some cotton, and fold my, produce up in that, you're gonna do that, then it's basically gonna bust a hole and shoot out the pulp everywhere. And then you're gonna have to let this be up at maximum pressure and literally press out the juice, so you're sitting there while it's waiting for the stream to break. So this can take some period of time, depending on what you're juicing, can take more or less time. And then you basically got to empty out your pulp patty and then put more ground pulp into the bag and then press it up. Now you can't be pressing while at the same time you're basically grinding up your food at the same time. So that's how this machine works. 2 stages. You have to, play a part in a good part of the juicing process where you're grinding, putting it in a little cloth and pressing it and controlling the press as it goes up. Let's contrast that with the NAMA J2. This is much easier to use because literally how this one works is you have a top part here, which is the hopper. So you press this little button here and this will pop up. And you literally load up this hopper with all the produce you want to juice. I think it holds about 2 liters of produce. And when you fill this up to the top, you could get between 24 ounces to 32 ounces based on my tests. In one cycle, if you fill this to the maximum capacity. And then all you do is you're gonna shut the lid, turn the machine on, and literally you could walk away, because this is gonna, inside this hopper is a little basically processing blade. If you guys can see it spin around inside there, it basically pre-cuts the produce and feeds it into the juicer, the single auger system down below, at a slow and moderate pace, so it extracts the highest yield of juice it possibly can without clogging and without jamming. NAMA has done an exceptional job with it not clogging and not jamming, because previous vertical juicers had issues with clogging and jamming. And I think I've only been able to clog and jam this up once, and that's when I was juicing something that I probably shouldn't have been. So the next step, after you put it in the hopper, load it up, it goes into this auger that is running at 50 RPMs. Once again, this is 69 times slower than the pure juicer, so this causes, in my opinion, less oxidative damage to the produce because it's running at a lot slower RPM. And this auger is spinning around, and it's basically crushing up the produce and then grinding it into smaller and smaller particle sizes as it runs down this auger. If you notice, this auger has divots, and NAMA says that the divots are in there to help make the juicer more quiet. Now, as this is spinning around and the inside here, the produce is getting ground down smaller and smaller, it's squeezing it out. So the juice is actually literally coming out of the juice holes here. And actually, I want to compare that for you guys on here. So the juice has to come out these little small stainless steel holes on the NAMA J2, which actually I could kind of see through a little bit. It's like in looking through pinhole glasses. Whereas on the press cloth, on the pure, you can't see through the press cloth. So that's why I believe the NAMA J2 will leave you with a juice with more nutrients, and we'll be testing that in just a little bit, because more nutrients will actually make it through the stainless steel screen that will not make it through the pure press cloth. That being said, I believe that's a pro, but you could look at this as a con, because maybe your juicing cleanse program therapy requires a clean juice with 0 pulp, 0 fiber, and then you will need to use a sieve to strain out that extra pulp or fiber that does get through the NAMA sieve. But at least with the NAMA, you have the choice to keep it in there or remove it. With the pure juicer, they will remove it for you. And once again, I believe this holds back some of the nutrients. Also on the NAMA J2, you have basically a wiping blade that'll actually spin around as the machine is running. Now this will introduce a little bit of air into the juice, so you could operate the juicer without the wiping blade if you decide. That being said, this wiping blade helps keep the screen clean and fluff the juice off the screen so it actually comes out of the juicer, although it is not necessary because many vertical juicers don't use the wiping blade in this day and age. And then you have the juicing bowl here, so you have to clean this when you're done. And what happens is the juice will actually come out this little spout here that you could shut to prevent drips on your counter. I do encourage you guys to leave it open when you're juicing. I believe you'll get higher yields if you let the juice free flow out instead of spinning inside the juicer like you see many influencers do. That being said, also as the juice is spinning inside the juicer, you're also aerating it more, so that may lower nutrition if you really care. So I always leave it open when juicing. And then the pulp will basically come out of this side of the juicer, once again, without you doing anything. So it's basically, this is a continuous juicer where you can continually put things in, it continually works, it kicks out the juice, kicks out the pulp, you keep going, right? Once again, the Pure is a batch juicer where you gotta basically press out batches of juice in the press cloth. So yeah, that's how both of these machines work. That being said, the cleaning on the Nama, there are definitely some more parts to clean on the Nama. So these are all the parts to clean. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. And maybe if you count this, 6 parts because the lid actually comes off. And on the Pure juicer, what do you got? Well, actually you got the screen and you got the little holder. That's 2 parts. You got this main 3 parts here on the funnel. 4 parts on the main juicer body, and then you got this cutting blade that comes off, that's 5, and then you got the tray, that's 6, and then you got the press cloth, that's 7, and then you might want to wipe down the top of this press platen here because it will get kind of crudted up with juice over time. So technically you maybe have a few extra parts on the Pure. That being said, what's easier to clean, the press cloth or the juicing screen? Well, depends on what you're juicing. If you're juicing cucumbers, that can literally get ground into the press cloth and make it more difficult to clean. Whereas if you're juicing something like carrots without apples, it basically falls off the press cloth. That being said, Pure also offers disposable bamboo liners to line the press cloth to make the cleanup a lot easier for you guys. In which case, if you do use the liners, then I'm going to say it's easier to clean than the Nama J2. I like the stainless steel parts. There are some nooks and crannies inside here, so you can basically blast water through the top, through the bottom, inside here. And then I also got to blast water in through here and maybe use a chopstick because there's some corners in here that pulp could get stuck in. Cleaning off the auger here, or the cutter there is probably a little bit easier than the auger. And then of course, cleaning out the Pure is probably a little bit easier than cleaning out all the square area of the Nama J2 juicer. And of course the juicing tray is fairly easy to clean. You just gotta remember to scrub the little edges there because you could get some buildup in the edges if you don't get in there and scrub it each and every time. Next I want to show you guys how to assemble each of these machines. The Pure is easier to assemble for sure. Literally take this tray. Most important thing is you don't want to just put it in there like that. You want to make sure it seats down properly. I can't tell you how many customers I've gotten, John, I didn't seat my, tray in there properly. I went out cockeyed and then I damaged it, right? So make sure it always seats properly. I personally never had a problem because they have these little clips here that basically make it go down and fit in there. So just make sure it's in there properly. The next step is you got to put on the auger, which in this case is already on. You can then go ahead and take this feed chute here and just slide that in at an angle and it just locks into place. You could take your funnel, slide that on the top. You're gonna go ahead and take your grid here and put it in the grid holder and then just slide that in and you're all assembled. Okay, so the next step is the Nama J2. So the Nama J2, don't assemble it on top of the machine. If you do that, it will not assemble properly. So you're going to do that off the machine. So you're going to go ahead and first take the automatic wiping blade and then you're going to shove that onto the screen like this. You're then going to look for these little cutouts on the side. There's a big side and a small side and you're just going to line that up with the big side and the small side on the juicing bowl. It basically drops into place. You're going to go ahead and then take the auger and drop the auger down in the center. I always like to maybe turn it a little bit to make sure it's fully down and seated. Next step is the most critical, most important, so pay attention to this part. You're going to go ahead and take the hopper feed chute and you're going to go ahead and turn this around and you see this protrusion on the back here and you're going to look for the protrusion here. You're just going to align this protrusion off to the side of this protrusion here and then line them up just like that. And now this is fully assembled if this has a solid run all the way down, right? You can also assemble the Nama incorrectly like this. so that your handle is lining up with this part here, and if you do that, that is assembled incorrectly, your juicer will not turn on. So I gotta make sure you guys assemble it off the base, and you assemble it like this, and you're fully assembled. You can set it on the top. If you're correctly fully assembled, you can turn this machine on. So that's a built-in safety system. Meanwhile, on the Pure, it does have a safety system that if this feed chute is not in place, it will not allow you to turn the machine on. That being said, you could have this plate ajar and you can turn on the machine. So make sure this is properly aligned before turning it on. I think the next thing I want to do, I want to do a sound test on both machines to show you guys which juicer is more quiet. All right, we got my decibel meter here. We're gonna go ahead and turn on the NAMA J2. Peaking out at 67 decibels on the NAMA J2. Next, let's go ahead and turn on the Pure juicer. On the Pure juicer, as it's sitting, it's maxing out at 68 decibels just running, but if you start grinding things, it will get a little bit louder, as will the NAMA J2. And when you put the press up, it actually is also fairly quiet. So I'm gonna say the Pure is probably a tad bit louder, but not much more than the NAMA J2. All right, the next thing I want to do for you guys today to compare these juicers is do a juice off comparison while I'm juicing organic pineapple in both these machines. So let's get these machines set up to juice, and let's go ahead and do a produce weigh-in. So now we're all set up and ready to juice. The first step is let's go ahead and make sure we have a fair fight by doing a weigh-in. All right, let's go ahead and do the weigh-in. Over on the Pure juicer side, the pineapple basically weighs 1564 grams. And if we go over to the NAMA J2 juicer side, the pineapple weighs 1564 grams. Backing up so you guys can see both scales, 1564 on both scales. So yes, we have a fair fight. All right, so now that we got the weigh-in out of the way, let's go ahead and remove the scales, and we're gonna get juicing. So the cool thing is, today I'm using organic pineapples, and I wanna let you guys know when juicing pineapples, you guys can juice the skin. I only personally do it when I have organic pineapples because they can spray fungicides on the skin of conventional pineapples. So in that case, I may want to cut off the skin or at least minimally wash it. That being said, I personally only juice the skin when I have organic pineapple. So I basically just broke off the top super fast and super easy so you guys could see. And then the other thing I did is I cut out the bottom core, that part that kind of looks like a little stalk, to make it easier on the juicer. I also will be timing how long it takes to juice in each machine, and I think today I'm going to juice first in the NAMA J2 because it's going to be a lot less work in my personal opinion. So we're going to go ahead and process the pineapple. We're going to time the whole process from the time from going from the uncut pineapple to the time the juicer is completely done juicing to see how long it takes. I'll also be giving you guys a play-by-play to learn how I'm specifically doing it in each machine. So first, let's go ahead and hit the start. We're going to go ahead and grab that pineapple, and basically I like to cut it into a tic-tac-toe pattern. So I like to cut it down the top there. So tic-tac-toe, because what we're doing is we're basically segmenting out the middle or the pineapple core, right? That's the part that can have the most challenges in the NAMA J2. Once we cut this up, we're just basically going to cut this into smaller pieces. You could put this into larger chunks if you want. You don't have to cut it this small, but the more you cut, the faster the J2 will be done and the more efficiently you could pack the top. Hopper. Next thing, I like to come by and cut this into like little 1/4 inch pieces, maybe 1/8 inch pieces just down the row. This will ensure that you don't have any issues when juicing in the NAMA J2 because you did pre-cut that core up that may, you know, in some cases clog up your juicer. I haven't had that happen yet, but you can see we fit more than half of this pineapple inside the hopper of the J2, And now all we get to do is turn this machine on, right? And check this out, no hands. I'm not sitting there pushing things in. I have no pusher. The machine is basically running, and as you guys can see, the pineapple juice is coming out. So as it is running, now I can do the rest of my prep work and, you know, cut up that last of the pineapple in a little bit smaller pieces, so I'll literally be able to load up the hopper in just a quick second. I got everything pre-cut, so what we're gonna do for you guys to save you guys some time is we're gonna put this on high speed, and we're gonna come back at you when I can load up more pineapples into the hopper. Alright, I think we're gonna go ahead and load up more pineapple into the hopper. So we got all the leftover outer pieces of the pineapple we're just gonna go ahead and throw in there. And I'm basically holding back all the core for just a quick second until all this processes. That'll allow the J2 to work more efficiently by getting some of this fiber stuff at the end. We're gonna go ahead and shut the lid and let the J2 juicer juice some more without me doing nothing. Alright, the J2 is almost finished juicing all the pieces I put in there. The final thing is we're going to go ahead and put the rest of the core in there to get this to juice on up. Now the core has the most fiber, so that really helps the juicer work a little bit more effectively than those softer pieces. Once again, I always encourage you guys to select the nicest, hardest, firmest pineapples to juice. They're going to juice a lot better than soft ones. Alright, so I am letting the J2 finish on up. As you guys can see, I've been sucking some foam off the top because I didn't want it to overflow. And you know, the J2 will create some foam depending on what you're juicing. So in this case, pineapples made some foam. If I juice pineapples with something like jicama, link down below my video. Never juice fruits without doing this, which is one of the tips, is adding vegetables or jicama, which will basically minimize the amount of foam and actually also increase the yield of the pineapple juice at the same time. That could be good. So the other thing is you want to let the J2 continue to run and not just shut it off, you know, when you think it's done. If pulp is still flowing out of the side here, then it's not done yet. It looks like it pretty much stopped flowing. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off and hit the stop button. And it looks like to juice one whole pineapple in the Nama J2, once again, I didn't have to do hardly any work. It took 6 minutes and 37 seconds, of course, on the Nama J2. Also like to tip this up, and as you guys can see, I'm getting a few more drips out of the juicer. So we're just going to go ahead and let that sit while I juice now in the pure juicer, which is a little bit different process to use than the Nama. So let's go ahead and hit the reset on there. And on this one, I got to cut the pineapple basically into like 4 pieces, and I could press them whole in the machine, which is going to be super cool. But the time that it takes to press can take some time. So let's go ahead and hit the start button and get started. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut the pineapple in half. And then we're going to go ahead and cut it in half again. And that's basically all you're going to have to do to juice pineapple in the pure. That being said, most produce items you will need to put through the grinder here. And once again, we're just going to go ahead and cut this into half. So we have 4 pieces. On the top piece that has like all this stuff, I'm just going to cut a couple lines in it so the juice could flow out a little bit easier. So I'm just basically cutting like a tic-tac-toe pattern in there. And same thing with the bottom of this as well. I'm just going to go ahead and cut a couple lines in there as well. Alright, the next step is we need to fold this up into the press cloth. So what we're going to do, you can see the press cloths kind of have like a pre-folded with a tic-tac-toe pattern. We can put that press cloth down, and a piece of the pineapple literally goes in the center square. And then basically you fold the press cloth up and over the piece of pineapple. You're going to go ahead and seal the press cloth all the way down, and you could go ahead and put it on the platen. And we're going to go ahead and take another press cloth here and put the other half of the pineapple right in the middle. And once again, fold this up tic-tac-toe pattern as tight as possible. Looks like this pineapple might be a little bit larger diameter than I actually might be able to press, so I don't know how that's going to work here. We want to make sure we have nice even folds for sure, otherwise this may not work you know, properly for us. It may open up as we are pressing. So I made it as tight as I can. We'll have to pay attention to see if it comes out when I'm pressing, so we can basically put on both on there at the same time. And then we're going to go ahead and turn this machine on, and we're going to go ahead and lever this up and get it pressing. As it starts to make contact, I'm slowing it up so it's pressing really slow. If you go too fast, it can spray juice everywhere. As you guys can see, the juice is coming out, but if you look at the juice, that juice is fairly clear, right? As it's getting higher and higher, we're going to go ahead and press it up a little bit more and more. As you guys can see, the juice is pouring out, but it's a very clear juice, whereas this is like a really nice style green juice. Once again, as we get pressed up more, we can go ahead and put it like full tilt and get full pressure on it to squeeze out more of the juice. Once you got the majority of the juice out, you can then go ahead and let the press down, and you can kind of go ahead and take a look at what you've been pressing out, and you could readjust. So, you know, what I like to do sometimes is maybe even you could cut this up into smaller pieces that may help it even extract more juice than just leaving it whole. So we're going to go ahead and condense all this into like just a few pieces in the middle, as well as we're going to go ahead and take out this other pineapple here, and we're going to cut this into some like pieces as well. We're going to line that up on the center of this press cloth here. Alright, fold it tight. Once again, we're going to go ahead and put it in the machine, crank with the machine, full pressure. Because we've already extracted most of the juice, we could probably just go at full pressure without having to taper it off. And once again, we're going to go ahead and let it press out. Now, as you guys can see, we're pressing more juice out, and on this press, we're just going to go ahead and let it run until the stream breaks so that we got the maximum amount of juice out. Alright, the stream broke because it's kind of dripping and it's not a solid stream anymore, so we're just going to go ahead and let it down. I always like to tip that up to get any last juice out. I think we may fold this press cloth in half one more time to basically get it to press out more juice. Let's see if we could get it to press more. And I never like to have my hands inside the press to kind of hold it down as it's going up. So I definitely don't want to press out my hands. So, you know, if you have kids, make sure you supervise them when they're using the Pure. And as you guys can see, we're getting a little bit more juice out from pressing the pineapple a third time. But as you guys can see, we're already up to 6 minutes and 30 seconds, which we were basically done in the Pure juicer in that time. We're still screwing around with getting the press to press out all the juice because I want the most juice, right? I guess while I'm waiting, I can start folding up the next bits of pineapple in the next press cloth. I mean, here's the thing, guys. You could wait longer and you could get a little bit more juice, but we're not getting a whole lot of juice out at this point, so we're just going to go ahead and drop the press. And once again, I like to tip this up all the way and get any last drips out, and we're just going to go ahead and take out this juiced pineapple. And we're just going to go ahead and fold up our last pineapple in the cloth. Once again, tic-tac-toe pattern. You got to pay attention to what you're doing, because if you don't fold it right, you could get seepage and it could blow out on you. You always want to fold it nice and tight. So once again, we got that nice and tight. We're going to go ahead and throw that on there first, and then we're going to throw the funny shaped piece on the top here. Have it centered up, and then crank this up, and we're going to go ahead and not go up at full speed so we don't get a lot of splashing. And once again, we're going to go ahead and let it squeeze out, going up moderately fast, still squeezing out juice. And now we're going to go ahead and put it up to full tilt. right, we're gonna go ahead and let this down and then reposition the pulp again. I like when I pre-cut the pulp into smaller bits instead of just folding it up. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this guy up. Once again, you want to pull it as tight as possible. All right, we got a nice stack on it here. Let's just go ahead and throw this in the middle of the press. Crank it up full tilt. Alright, the stream is finally breaking. We're going to go ahead and let that down. And I think we're just going to go ahead and do one more fold on the pineapple. And once again, put it back in the machine and let's go ahead and crank it up to high. And press it out one more time. Meanwhile, we're already at almost 12 minutes. Alright, I think we got the stream break finally. Just going to go ahead and lower that down. And once again, you could let this run longer and eke out a little bit more yield, but then it's like, how long do you want to wait for the machine to work? You can always tip this up and get every last bit of juice off of the tray there. And let's go ahead and hit stop here. So as you guys can see, it took 13 minutes and 19 seconds, so approximately like twice as much time as the Nama J2. And I have to, reposition the pucks and, fold them up and put them on there and taper it up and do all this and kind of pay attention. Whereas this guy just loaded up, shut the lid, and literally walk away. So that's the stark contrast between some of the work you're going to have to do. And let's not mention that I'm not even using the grinder today. I'm just pressing out the pulp, and adding the grinder would, yet add another step and probably more time. Now, of course, I'm not the most efficient using this, and maybe you could have knocked off a few minutes, by being a bit more efficient than I am. But now what I want to do is I want to compare the pulps that each machine put out for you. So I'm not going to say the pure juicer pulp is unimpressive, because it actually is quite impressive. I mean, literally it took the pineapple and pressed it out like bone dry. This stuff is insane. You can see the skin's intact. It really didn't juice the skin, but it basically got all the juice out of the pineapple. I mean, it's dry. Like, I can't squeeze it and squeeze any juice out. It's just not coming. So that's, the efficiency of the pure. Meanwhile, over on the Nama J2 pulp, let's go ahead and show what that looks like. This pulp is a lot more broken up. That's because this machine ground it up and juiced it at the same time. That being said, you could have pulped the pineapple through here. It would have, it's a high water content, so it kind of got a little bit messy. And it would have took more time, of course, and you'd still have to press it, like I did. But as you guys can see, this pulp is a lot more broken up. You can't see the skin residue in there. I mean, this, you can see pieces of skin in there. So, I mean, that's the task. Once again, we could have ground it up, and then the pineapple pulp would be more indistinguishable than the Nama juicer pulp. If I take this pulp and squeeze it, I'm squeezing a few drops out, but it's pretty doggone dry. So, it's a solid job. I mean, each one works a little bit different. Once again, you could have ground this up and got a better result, because you get more of the pigments and you get the grind from the green. That being said, in my opinion, because once again you are pressing it through the cloth, you're not going to get as much of the green pigments or nutrients into the juice as you would in the Nama. So I guess the next step is, let's go ahead and compare the juice yields from each juicer up front and center, so that you could clearly see that the Nama J2 juicer did in fact make a lot more foam. It was actually foaming over the top as I was juicing, so I sucked it up. What is foam? It's basically aerated juice, so the foam will basically end up melting or popping and dissolving back into juice and make more juice in there for you over time, which will raise up the level just a tiny bit. And as you guys can see, the pineapple juice in the Nama and the pure, and let's go ahead and do a close-up for you guys on the video to show you guys which one actually made more juice. All right, close-up on the juices there. So if you guys look at the pure juicer, made over 1,000 milliliters. I'm going to say that's like 1,100 milliliters of juice. And I want you guys to notice the color of the juice. I mean, it's a nice, vibrant, kind of yellowish color. you know, when it was coming out of the juicer, it looked almost like water, but, you know, once it got into the collection cup there, you know, it's a little bit more yellow, but, you know, it's almost, I'm not going to say it's almost translucent, but it's more translucent than this juice over on this side. Now, this juicer, the Nama J2, looks like it made over 1,100 milliliters of juice, so it actually did make a little bit more juice if we look at that by a hair. The other thing it made was a lot more foam in the juice. A lot more foam, like significantly more foam. But the other thing is this juice is a lot more green, and that is simply because it ground up the skin and got the chlorophyll pigments from the skin into the juice, whereas the pure juicer did not. Now, if we, once again, if we did grind up the pineapple before we put it to the pure, you know, and Pure shows in their videos how to juice pineapple and they don't show grinding it, it would have made a more greenish tinged juice, but in my opinion, it would not be as green as this. Now, the other thing you guys aren't seeing is that there definitely is some more, like, you know, pulp in the juice of the Nama, which did increase the overall yield. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and weigh out each of these juices to see how much they weigh, because that actually will be quite telling. All right, so what we're going to do here is we will weigh each of the juices, and we're going to go ahead and tear out, you know, for the glass that we're weighing it in. So let's go ahead and tear that out. All right, let's go ahead and pour the Nama J2 juice into the cup. Definitely there is some fiber in there, and as you guys can see, just pouring it off, it helped to minimize some of the foam from the collection cup. Let's go ahead and then tear out this now too. Let's go ahead and pour out the juice from the pure juicer. This is a lot more pure. You guys could see, you could actually almost see through it as I'm pouring it, because it is significantly more clear than the Nama J2 juice. This is all having to do with going through the press cloth or going through the juicing screen. And now we got a weight on that, so let's go ahead and show you guys a close-up on the weights. All right, so once again, if we go ahead and look at the yields, you guys can see the yield of the Nama J2 definitely is a little bit more than on the pure juicer. But let's check out the weights. Over on the pure juicer, once again, tearing out for the glass, it's 1134. But look at this. Over on the Nama J2, it's 1180. So this juicer technically weighs more, and that's because some of the fiber, you know, that was put in the juice because of the juicing screen. So which juicer made more, right? Did the pure make more juice, right? Well, it actually made less volume of juice, and it also made actually less weight or less total yield as well. So that's quite interesting. Once again, this is with pineapple that we did not grind up. If we did carrots, the pure would surely win in the carrots, although I would suspect that, once again, the Nama juice would weigh more, even if the pure juice did make a higher yield overall. All right, so let's try to keep things fair. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna once again zero out the scale over on this side. All right, so what I wanna do now is let's go ahead and see how much pulp is actually in the Nama J2 juice, because you got to see that physically. It was like, I don't know, whatever, 40 more grams or 50 more grams of weight. And so let's go ahead and run it through a fine sieve. Now this fine sieve is still not as fine as the press cloth. To do this properly, we'd have to run that through the press cloth, which I'm definitely not doing. It'd be way too messy. So this is the finest sieve that I have. So let's go ahead and pour the juice through the sieve. All right, I've shaken down the pulp a lot, and this is not the funnest task to do. And you can see I'm left with some pulp inside the sieve there. I got most of the juice out of it. The pulp may be a tad bit wet, but what I want to do for you guys is actually, we're going to go ahead and weigh the pulp out that was left in the sieve there. All right, and we're left with 21 grams of pulp here, which is not a lot of pulp. That being said, this juice is still very thick, and as, if you guys look at this, you guys can see, I mean, pretty much, I mean, it looks like a tie to me from this angle right here. Maybe the pure made a tad bit more after removing some of the pulp and some of that foam recondensed. So it's a tight race. I'm about to say maybe the Nama just eked it out a little bit. more or at least the same as the pure even after straining. Next, I want to go ahead and try the juices. So I want to show you guys this when I pour it out. Try to do this up close, but when I pour this, you guys can see the juice as it comes out. It kind of looks a little bit clear on there, right? The stream looks clear. That's because, in my opinion, you're pressing out like the water. You're pressing out almost all the water, actually. But once again, my personal opinion is that some of the nutrients are being held back by the press cloth. So let's go ahead and drink this pineapple juice. Once again, this is quite pure. There is no particulate in there because of the press cloth. So once again, pro and con. I mean, that is a sweet, good tasting pineapple juice all the way. To me, it has a really smooth texture, like more texture than water, because it's not just water. I feel like the richness in there, but it's just a quite sweet bomb hit with like zero fiber or very little fiber in there. Now, I do want to remind you guys that the fiber in pineapple, when you juice it, you only keep about 10% of the soluble fiber that dissolves in the liquid. Now, when you use a pure juicer, you will keep, the majority of the soluble fiber that dissolves in the juice. But in addition, you will keep some of that insoluble fiber that went through, that went into the juice as well through the screen. And then even with my sieve that I use, the holes are larger on the sieve than the press cloth. So there still will be some more pulp, in this juice. But let's go ahead and pour this juice out, and I want you guys to look at the stream there. The stream definitely looks, not as clear, not as see-through. To me, this is an indication that there is more texture or also, nutrients in the juice, right? Let's go ahead and try this. So this one definitely has some texture to it. I'm not going to say it's like a Kern's Nectar texture, but it definitely is more rich and maybe fluffy in the mouth. This is more of a water texture. This is more of a richer, I would say maybe creamier texture because of the fiber in there. Oh, that's the interesting thing too. This one didn't tend to burn my mouth as much. It was more clean on the palate, and this, I'm getting some of the enzyme reaction on my tongue because of the bromelain enzyme. But yeah, I definitely taste some aeration in the juice. There's more air put in the juice than the pure for sure. And I have to say, it's a tad less sweet. It's not as sweet as this because, once again, if you got the fiber diluting the sugar content, and also you got the thicker mouthfeel, it's going to make it taste not as sweet. So if you want the sweetest juice, hey, use the pure. But if you want a healthier juice, in my humble opinion, you want to get the Nama J2. As you guys can see, the juice is significantly more rich in color than the pure juice. I'm going to put these in mason jars, pull vacuums on them, and I'm going to let them sit in my fridge. And in my fridge, I will guarantee you guys that the pure juice will separate less than the Nama J2 juice. Some people that sell cold press juicers, two-stage machines that grind and then press up the juice, will say, separation is juice is bad. It's a bad thing. Well, that's their personal opinion. My opinion is that, hey, if you have separation in your juice, that's a good thing. Because why? Because the separation in the juice shows the particle sizes. If the particle is heavier, it'll sink to the bottom. If the particle is lighter, it'll go to the top. If there's no particles in there, the juice won't separate because it can't, because there's no particles to separate. And that's why your juice separates. So to me, I want some of those particles in the juice because, in my opinion, those are some of the nutrients in the juice as well. So probably the negatives about the Nama J2 was that it oxidized the juice, added a lot more foam than the pure juicer did. That being said, it also made a more nutritious juice because we got the pigments out of the skin than the pure juicer. It also made a more rich and thick juice if that's what you want. Of course, the pure juicer made a more clean juice. That being said, the Nama still made a tiny bit more yield than the pure, overall, in my personal opinion. Although, once we strained it, it was pretty close, but I'd still say, because of the thicker, richer juice, the Nama J2 wins it. in terms of the yield. So now I want to go ahead and give you guys my summary and what my opinions are on this juicing process, because I've never used these machines side by side like this before. I will tell you straight up, I mean, we did not even grind the produce up, and it took twice the amount of time in the pure juicer and a lot more work just to, you know, fold the press cloth, put it in there to taper it up and all this kind of stuff. And if we ground up the produce, you know, we would have got a more richer, greener color juice, but also we would have made more things to clean. The cleanup is actually going to be easier on the pure, because all I got to do is clean up this, clean up the top of this, and clean 2 press cloths, whereas I got a lot more parts to clean on the juicer, you know, but I got a more rich juice with higher yield. And once again, this was a hands-off juicer. That's the main thing. If you guys don't mind doing work and want the highest yield and you're going to juice a lot of carrots, right, then the pure juicer is probably a better juicer for you. But if you're going to juice and want it just easy, you want to just put stuff in there, shut the lid, walk away, and come back and have your juice done, and you don't mind some pulp in the juice, right, and you want to save 5 times the money, right, buy the NAMA J2. Now, I do need to let you guys know that the NAMA J2 warranty on the NAMA J2 is 15 years, and it's actually 12 years on the pure juicer, so the NAMA warranty is 3 years longer than the pure juicer. That being said, the parts are quite durable. I haven't seen any breakage or any significant major parts, components, because it is just a well-designed machine. That being said, the warranty on the pure is 12 years on the entire machine. That also is transferable, so that will help you guys with the resale value. So at the end of this video, if I had to declare one of these juicers the winner, which one would I choose? Well, I'll tell you guys my honest opinion. I'm going to choose the NAMA J2 just because it's less work. You know, I don't like sitting there or waiting in front of the press where you have to wait to let all the juice drip out. Whereas with the NAMA, you could fill it up and literally walk away. Once again, each one of these machines have their own pros and cons. You want more enzymes, get this machine. In most cases, this is also going to get you higher yields, and if I would have ground up the produce and then juiced it, I probably would have got a little bit more yield than the NAMA, but I just pressed the pineapple like Pure themselves show juicing, because that's one of their claims of fame, is that, you know, some things you could just press out the juice, right? So once again, each juicer has their own pros and cons, and no matter which one of these 2 juicers you get, you're going to be a winner. Now, I do want to let you guys know this machine is made in South Korea and this machine is made in China. Now, just because this machine is made in China, don't think it's a piece of junk machine made in China. This is made in China to very high quality standards. I mean, they make like airplanes that fly in the air in China. So China can make some very high quality items if you select the proper factory, and more importantly, pay them the money to have the quality control that you need to get the specifications just right. This is like a world-class manufacturing facility that has like, it's made to European standards in China. So this is a very high quality unit despite being made in China. You know, and you know, my honest opinion too is that the pure juicer will outlast the NAMA J2, because this is kind of built more geared, while it is not a commercial juicer, it's kind of built more commercial style, and let's face it, this is still a home juicer no matter how you press it. That being said, this machine has a 30-minute run time, whereas, you know, I'm not sure if there is a run time limit on the pure juicer. I mean, I've had it run like an hour straight without any issues. You know, you could just keep going and going. Once again, this is not a commercial juicer either. So both these machines, you guys are going to be a winner if you guys want to get the lowest price on either of these 2 machines. Whatever you decide, links are down below in the first pinned comment as well as description to get 10% off on the NAMA J2, or to save that extra $25 off on the pure juicer, a discount you're not going to get anywhere else. Also, make sure when you guys buy the pure juicer, I recommend you guys get the chef's kit. While it is only $100 more, you're going to get a whole bunch of extra accessories that you don't get with the standard machine. Link down below to my video on the different accessories you guys get with the upgraded chef's package. So if you guys enjoyed this episode and all the work I did to explain how these machines work, because nobody goes into the detail that I do, so that you guys could fully understand your juicer purchase before you spend your hard-earned cash on either of these 2 machines, I want to ask you guys if you guys could help me out, because I've helped you guys out by making this video, and I thank you guys for staying to the end, because that shows me you are committed. But if you guys use that coupon code down below to buy the Pure or the NAMA J2, NAMA or Pure will share with me a small commission so that I can continue to make my educational videos for you guys, so I can continue to tell the truth about the juicers for you guys, because my goal is to give you the most accurate information so that you guys could make your own decision on which juicer is going to be the best one for you. Of course, I have my own preferences, and of course, I have my own biases as well. So I want to thank you guys in advance who use my coupon code, and I want to thank you guys who have used my coupon code previously, because that helps me to power my lights, buy my pineapples, and make these videos for you guys. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, want more videos comparing two different juicers so you guys could learn about the differences between them, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. That helps out the YouTube algorithm push this video out to more people so that more people could learn the differences between two of the best selling juicers on the market at this time. Also, be sure to share this video with others in different forums where they talk about cold press juicers so that people could learn the differences between a two-stage hydraulic press juicer and single auger, automatic juicer that you literally load up and shut the lid. It is truly a game changer and amazing. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out my new upcoming episodes. I'm coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I have over 600 episodes on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about the different juicers and comparing juicers and making sure that you guys buy the right juice for you. I'll put links down below in the description to videos I have made with the NEMA J2, as well as videos I've made with the Pure juicer in the past, so you guys could learn more about each of these individual units in their own videos. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.